school strikes. I mentioned them a little bit there. School strikes for Palestine, they're spreading, folks. Can you believe this? With Tower Hamlets being the latest area of the country to see classrooms empty on Thursday as students demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. Well, the students, you know, it has to be coming from somewhere, doesn't it, dare I say? Up to 400 left school, with many carrying Palestinian flags. But should children really be involved in such activism? And can they fully grasp what it is they're actually saying, as Jeff has just outlined in that package there? Joining me now is the journalist Julie Cook. Julie, thank you very much for your time today. Do you share my frustration? Do you think I'm a miserable old crow? Where are you at?
I share your frustrations. I'm a parent myself. My children are 15 and 9, and I would never let them go to something like this, not on my watch. As you said, a lot of these children are holding up placards. They don't even know what is being written on these placards. But also, this Stop the War coalition that is sort of behind much of this, they're sending out messages on how children can get off school without getting in trouble. They're encouraging this very left-leaning group, as we've mentioned before. And also, I don't see what difference it will make for these children to do this other than hampering their own school career and their learning.
Exactly, because, I mean, Julie, it strikes me, right, that we've had years of on and off lockdowns, on and off more than a light switch, and now, of course, bunking off school in the name of a foreign nation state in the Middle East. I cannot, for the life of me, think of any justification for children in Britain to be off school.
Exactly. And as we've said, you know, if you do take your child off school, you want to go on holiday perhaps early or something like that, you are fined for that. You know, we know that you can't go on holiday in school time. You can only take your children off for reasonable measures, you know, like hospital appointments or funerals or whatever. So there's a lot of anger among parents who aren't getting involved in these protests, saying, well, why are my children, you know, why are we fined if we go anywhere and these children are allowed to? But secondly, I do think, dare I say it, this pro-Palestine marching among young people is pretty much a fashion thing at the moment. It's very TikTok to talk about how you're, you know, a freedom fighter and you're going on these marches. And it's almost the fashionable thing to do among the young. And I don't think they have a grasp on the nuances of the incredible difficult way of understanding this Middle Eastern problem.
Yeah, I mean, Julie, speaking of TikTok, Osama bin Laden apparently is now popular and had a resurgence on that app with young people reading out a letter he wrote to the United States of America, in which, of course, you can imagine dripping in terrorist anti-Western sentiment. Now, I'm wondering, does that concern, as a mother, does that concern you? Do you worry about TikTok and actually its, what I would argue, negative impact on our younger generation?
Deeply. I think TikTok needs to be really looked into for not only the dangerous thing it promotes, such as, you know, drugs and smoking and all the rest of it, but this sort of politicizing. I mean, can you imagine 10, 15 years ago, letters from Osama bin Laden being lauded by people? It's absolutely disgraceful. You know, people have only recently died in September the 11th. I mean, this is a recent tragedy in terms of the scheme of things. And for these words of his to be fashionable among the young and the left-leaning is deeply concerning.
Yeah, I mean, Julie, where do we go from here then? Do you think these kids are going to grow out of it, snap out of it? Or do you think actually, you know, these kids have just been so soaked in all of this activism that actually it's going to be something that maybe potentially stays with people? And I personally don't find that a very positive prospect.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I think, as your reporter there just said, that things are dwindling a bit, I dare say that I think a combination of weather coming up to Christmas, terrible rain and things like that is going to put a lot of people off. I think these sort of fashions don't last as long as we might fear. But I do think that it is becoming worrying that young people don't understand, as I said before, the nuance involved in a Middle East crisis like this. There are no goodies and baddies. Yeah, well, there are in terms of who attacked first. But what I'm saying is, we cannot let a 5-year-old hold a placard up or sing songs like From the River to the Sea without understanding this conflict. And I also think that these rallies are deeply offensive and upsetting to Jewish children and their families. Yeah. children in school whose classmates perhaps are walking out on these rallies, imagine how they must feel.
I mean, Julie, what would just finally there, what would you want to happen to children who have potentially been taken out of school? And dare I say, some parents may well be encouraging it, because I've just had one email into our inbox which says, what people forget is, as a taxpayer, it's us paying for their education here. How dare they waste our money? I mean, if the school don't clamp down on this, it could happen time and again.
It could. I think first of all, we need to make it very clear, if you're going on these rallies, you should be fined for taking your child out of school, I think.
Yeah.
Just as if you were taking your child to Greece 2 days early, you would be fined. So I think that's the first thing. But I also think that teachers who are encouraging this, some left-leaning teachers who are allowing this or following the children out or whatever, they really need to put their own politics aside. They are teachers. And as I say, without the nuance and the understanding of what these conflicts are about, it risks promoting an ideology that is very offensive to Jewish people and people who understand that this is a very nuanced situation and there are no goodies and baddies.
Yeah, and just let kids be kids, Julie. I mean, we've got so much in the education system these days, talking about 100 genders, gender-bred men. You can't say bar black sheep, you've got to say bar rainbow sheep. All of these things, it just goes on and on and on. And it feels like politics is ingrained within every area of the education system now. And I just find that so utterly depressing. Just let children be children, right? And give them the basics that they need to be good, well-rounded citizens, responsible, autonomous actors, instead of all of this, hunting for victim narratives and politicisation of absolutely everything. But Julie, we'll leave it there. Julie Cook, thank you very much for your time.